All right. Let's see. What's going on? Welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen of Prestige, welcome back. Let's have some fun. It's going to be fun. Welcome back. As you're coming in, do me a favor, hit the like button as you're coming in. It doesn't matter if you're watching a broadcast, a live broadcast, or rebroadcast. Just do me a favor, hit the like button as you're coming in. We're going to have a good time today. Okay, we have a good story to cover today. We're going to talk about it. My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. We have a story to talk about today, and I think it's going to be a fantastic one. It's called Toxic Relationship and or Self-Defense. The story of Michael D. Williams. We're going to talk about this today. This is another classic one, I guarantee you. Let's see here. There's a couple of things we have to turn on here before we get started. Let's see. Let's get the background music on. Oh, sounds good. That sounds good already. If you can hear me, please let me know. Say something in the chat room. Let me know the audio, visuals, everything is good. Just let me know. Right? The other thing I need to do right now is, let's see. I gotta post that link up there. Let's see. We gotta get the co-host link up there just in case anybody want to come up and chop it up with me directly. You're welcome to do so. All right. Let me just go here. Boom. Let me go ahead and pin that up. All right. And let's see here. We have D'Souza. Hey, D'Souza, good to see you. We have Casata. Yes, good to see you. Yes, we're definitely going to have a good time again today. Okay. And without any further ado, let's get to it. Welcome back. Good. Good to see you, Patricia Black. Good to see you, Prestige family. Absolutely. All right. So like I said, do me a favor, hit that like button. Share this with 3 people. Just grab the link. It should be like a little curvy icon under this video. It says share right next to it. Just send it to 3 people. That's all. Send it to 3 people with any. You could use Twitter, you could use Facebook, you could use WhatsApp, you could use email, right? There's so many options. Just get it out to 3 people, right? Let's get it going. And today we're talking about this story here. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. We're talking about the story of Michael D. Williams. All right? This guy right here. We're going to talk about this guy today. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about that guy today, right? But first thing first, let's get through some announcements here really quickly. We did hit 1,100 subscribers. Shout out to you. At some point, I'll get some kind of applause sound effect up here so we can clap for ourselves, right? So we hit 1,100 subscribers and we hit 60,000 views total on the platform. So shout out to you all. It's all because you're coming here. And thank you so much. I will continue to work very hard to make the platform even better. Okay. So that's that. Then also I wanted to do some catch up. Sometimes I'll be hanging out on Instagram, in the middle of the day as I'm working. Some of you may wonder why I never came back to say, hey, let's do the midday shows, like 12 o'clock, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I think I might have explained this in the past, but it's just not feasible because there's a way that once I do a show in the middle of the day, it actually kills the productivity of the other businesses I have going on. So I think it's a bad idea in general. So I definitely want to keep it this way. Okay. 5:30, I'll come here as much as many times as possible, right? Sometimes, just warning you right now, sometimes I'm out there on the road, I'm in the middle of travel, and I may have to shift things around, but as long as I'm back here in my Empire Pro studios, I'll do 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yep, so that's where we are with that. So what I want to do is I want to go through some of my latest posts, saved posts on Instagram. All right. I've been seeing some things that I wanted to share. I want to share with you, the Prestige family, as I'm just going about my day. I see them like, oh, this would be interesting to share with the Prestige family, right? And I've been saving some of this for a while. But because we've had some really fantastic stories here, right? I didn't really get a chance to get to them. So I want to get to some of them right now. As you're sharing and you're letting people know that we're here, I want to share some laugh with you. I want to share some videos with you, stuff like that. All right. All right, let me see here. Let's see what else here. No problems, no problems. Completely understood. Completely understood. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see here. Let's get the. We're gonna turn down the background music for a second here. There you go. Then I want us to watch some of this together. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. And then we're gonna get to the story of the day. There you go. Now, just in case you're not following me yet, if you're not following me on Instagram, feel free to follow me. It's linked to the channel somewhere, but it's iTalksB. You can follow me on Instagram. Let me know it's you. That you're coming from Man of Prestige. You can DM me and let me know it's you, right? All right. So these are some of the posts that I saved. Let me see here. Just want to make sure that. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's watch this first video. We're gonna dive into some of them.
It's just like you want a girlfriend that's black, because BB is black too, but he's light skinned. Do you want a light skinned girlfriend, or you want a chocolate girlfriend like you?
Oh yeah, I want a chocolate girlfriend. A sexy chocolate girlfriend.
Oh my God, that's simple. You want you some sexy chocolate?
Oh yeah, sexy chocolate.
Okay, Jace, you want her to be tall or short? You want her to be skinny?
I want her to be like my age.
We know you want her to be your age. I said, do you want her to be tall?
Tall, yeah.
Or you want her to be short?
Yeah, sure. I want to be bigger than her, because every man is bigger than a girl, so I want her to be like short.
So you want a short girlfriend. You want her shorter than you. Okay, you want her to be skinny, or you want her to be thick, or you want her to be fat, or you want,
No, I want her skinny.
So you want her skinny?
Yeah, skinny girlfriend.
What do you consider mommy? Do you consider mommy, what is mommy? Am I skinny?
Mama, you pretty.
Sit back. You ain't gotta go over and hug me and tell me that. Jace, I know you said I'm pretty, but what do you consider me to be? Am I skinny? Am I fat? What do you consider me?
You are getting fat, but I love you. I'm just saying you are getting a little fat.
Oops.
Okay, so you don't want a girl my size.
What?
I'm just saying.
I love you. I'm just saying
no, baby.
You're getting a little big or something. You getting like fat. You getting big. Like that. Yeah.
So I'm just not into that. It's just like you want a girlfriend that's black.
All right, so that's that right there. Let me see. Okay, so this one says, I am convinced my mom hated me and my brother. Them suits are huge. When we were growing up, some of our parents did this to us. They put us in stuff that's bigger than, I've never been in stuff this big, but they put us in stuff that's way bigger than us just because they don't want to have to, make another suit in the next 1 year. Terrible, but they did. Yes, they did, right? But I don't think they hated us. That's funny. Let's see here. Now, this one right here. Now, you guys, some of you that are from the Obodo fam, you recall the story from yesterday. This lady, for those of you that are not familiar with it, basically, this man was caught by the wife. That's the wife right there. And the wife caught him, something like that, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Caught him coming out of a hotel room or something like that with a girlfriend. And then as soon as she spotted them, she started chasing them with a vehicle. And she crashed and died. Okay? So I guess this is the opinion of somebody about that, right? Let's listen to it.
Just do a pre-recorded video.
By the way, Auntie B sent this to me. She's hilarious with this post. But let's see.
Just do a pre-recorded video. That is what I'm saying it. Ọjọ́ tí obìnrin bá ti mọ̀ wípé ṣé òbò kan ò lè satisfy oko ọkùnrin.
Well, let me do a little translation. She said, the day a woman knows that one vagina can never satisfy one penis. That's what she said. Like, look at this caption. It says, this woman have broken the peace table and everything done scatter finish. God bless this woman. Truth is truly bitter, but somebody has to say it. Now, somebody is calling this the truth. But let's continue.
I am talking as a realist. I am talking as a scientist.
Realist in the mud. She just referenced herself as a scientist for having a ridiculous opinion. But let's keep going.
And as somebody who wants peace for every one of us, the day you know that one woman cannot satisfy a man, that is the beginning of your peace. One sort of be realist, and I'm talking as a Christian. Because even Bibeli go fire.
She's also talking as a Christian. Now, how many times have you met somebody call themselves a realist? She said realist, right? I don't know the right pronunciation, it doesn't matter. But somebody said one woman cannot satisfy one man. That's essentially, okay, that's actually Auntie B saying that. Ikire is scientist, right? Ikire is scientist. That's funny. Ikire is a small village in Osun State in Nigeria. But she said, I was not prepared for the level of self-worthlessness and self-depreciation spewed by this auntie. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance. That is profound. Some people do really believe what they're saying. It's sincere, but it's nonetheless ignorance, right? That's a B. This one I don't understand though. Conscientious stupidity. That's deep. Oh, that's a quote from Martin Luther King. Let's keep going.
Just do a pre-recorded video. That is what I'm saying it. Ọjọ́ tí obìnrin bá ti mọ̀ wípé ṣé òbò kan ò lè satisfy oko ọkùnrin. Mi ò jiyàn àwọn ọkùnrin tó máa ti ṣe tó ti sú wọn. I am talking as a realist. I am talking as a scientist. And as somebody who wants peace for every one of us. The day you know that one woman cannot satisfy a man, that is the beginning of your peace. One sort of be realist, and I'm talking as a Christian. Because even Bibeli go fire gba wípé ká máa para wa. Bíbélì tí gbogbo wa dẹ̀ ń kà, the same God, the same Bible ni o. Òun ni ìgbà tí Dáfídì fẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ obìnrin. Nígbà tí Dáfídì gan pa Ùráyà, Ọlọ́run sọ fún yín pé, didn't I give you wives? Ọlọ́run ní òun fún ẹ ní àwọn ìyàwó. I personally, Ọlọ́run kàwé ní I gave you wives. Ó sọ fún Dáfídì. Ó mì wípé Ọlọ́run ò ní problem pẹ̀lú Dáfídì nítorí pé ó ṣe kí ni ó fẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ obìnrin. Àwọn Sólómọ́nù wípé Ábúráhámù tó jẹ́ bàbá àgbàgbọ́ ṣé ìyàwó kan ló bímọ fún un ni. Kí lẹ́tà àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ òdì òun là ń kọ́ àwọn obìnrin. Ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà ẹ sọ fóbìnrin wípé òun nìkan lọkọ yóò mọ̀ fẹ́. It is not possible, sir. In fact, research ìwé fi hàn wá wípé tí ọkùnrin bá ń jókòó ti obìnrin kan for so many years, irú ọkùnrin yẹn okó rẹ̀ ò ní pẹ́ kú. Àwọn tí wọ́n bá ní ọ̀pọ̀ tí wọ́n ní multiple obìnrin tí wọ́n bá ní sexual relationship wọn kì í tètè ní erectile dysfunction because nature àwọn ọkùnrin ni wípé wọ́n like variety. ibi tí variety bá wà, a research was conducted in US. A cock was made to mate with a chicken. After 5 rounds with chicken eyokan, the cock was not able to go again. That same cock was put in the midst of plenty chicken and he was able to sleep with 15 because they taste different. Ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà, obìnrin ò gbúdọ̀ máa ríra ẹ̀ bíi failure nítorí wípé ọkọ ẹ̀ ti lọ báyàn kan sùn àbó ti lọ dóyàn kan sọ wá rí rẹ̀ nírí wípé ìgbésí ayé òun ti tán, ẹlòmíà ní life òun ti crumble.
So she said a woman should not see herself as failure just because your partner went to sleep with somebody else. Right? She's empowering right now. Let's keep going.
Which is not supposed to be. Women have to know this and know peace that one single woman cannot satisfy a man. It is the reality. And
she's a realist. Let's keep
the
going.
truth remains that social media, type wrong comments, by the time you put down your phone, you still go to the outside world and go and face that reality that you are fighting. Why can't we know it and know peace?
Know it and know peace.
Ọkùnrin ló lè ní agbára àti fẹ́yàwó méjì sínú ilé pé kán wà nínú ilé as pé 2 wives. Bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ọkùnrin bá níyàwó sínú ilé, tendency kó ní girlfriend síta wà. Torí ní ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà afọkùnrin tó bá fẹ́ parọ́ ni ó sọ pé látìgbà tóun ti fẹ́yàwó òun 10, 20, 15 years òbò ẹ̀ òṣù òun rí kò possible.
All right. So I see D'Souza.
Just do a pre-recorded video.
As D'Souza and Iluka going in over there. Let me see. Humans are not made for monogamy. Okay. So in my opinion, humans are neither made for monogamy or polygamy. They're both practices. How easy you find it to practice is based on social construct. In certain era, it was easier to practice one than the other. Humans are neither made for either one. Okay, you can choose to be monogamy, you can choose to be polygamy. Now, if you're talking about capabilities, those are two different things. Are you capable of sleeping with multiple things? Yes. And men are capable within a certain period of time of sleeping with multiple people more than women. Because obviously, if you get pregnant, it's going to be a little bit harder to sleep around. That's some obvious stuff, right? So, but the idea that one is created for the other, like you said, D'Souza, you said humans. She's not saying humans. She said men. Basically, she's giving passes to men. She's not saying women, right? So, what do you have to say about that, right? Ilukan, my brother, says this woman has somewhat of a point. Men are naturally more promiscuous than women. I will remove the word naturally. It's not nature. It's not nature. There's way too many examples around you that are just not built that way. They're not built to sleep around. Men, yes. Right? And just because somebody is not content doesn't mean they're naturally like that. There's a gap, there's a vacuum that can't really remain a vacuum. There's a void that must be filled. That's why they're doing that. When people are satisfied, there's only so much time in the day to be walking around town and sleeping with anything. So let's remove evil, righteousness, or anything like that. I'm just saying, time-wise, given the resources in any given time, there's only so much of it that you have.
Stop the cap.
No sound. So I've been talking no sound. You guys are wrong. You guys are wrong. So I've been talking with no sound. Hey, hey. Oh, wow. I've been talking with no sound. How did I hit that mute button? So I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go back. No sound. Interesting. So let's go back from the forward. No sound. Oyade says, I look and speak for yourself. My father is super successful and is content with my mom married over 40 years. Oyade, that's where I push back. You don't know your father like that. You don't. He was a great father, obviously, right? He was a great husband, obviously. Now, as far as what he did as a personal man, you don't know. And you're probably not supposed to know, and that's okay. Um, yeah, yes, sorry. Yeah, you couldn't know your father that much. None of us do, right? We can tell if our father is a successful stand-up man, but it's probably some things he's not proud of that he will probably never share with you. That's just reality. Maybe that is being promiscuous, right? In a very quiet way, especially if he's a successful man who had means. He probably will never find out. So, uh, come up with a better case. But I promise you, I'm with you though, that that lady definitely did not have anything of substance to say. The argument was terrible. The argument was terrible. Not especially after she called herself a realist and a scientist, and then she started using David and Uriah to support that terrible point, right? It's terrible. People are either victims of success of the society in which they are raised. Yes. Married men who has the chance to have different cookies would definitely grab the opportunity. Maybe, maybe not. I wouldn't make a generalized statement like that. But if I was to generalize, I would agree, right? But I generally push against generalization here. Um, there are many men. I was saying, I probably was muted when I said it. There are many, many men that they're just not built like that. They're not built like that. Even when they have the opportunities, they have the options. It could also be because of their experience. Maybe they saw their mother being treated a certain way. They just can't fathom the idea that you're not content with one woman. You will hear them say things like, they're very quick to say it too. They will say things like, if you have to cheat, leave. You will see them correlate cheating with polygamy and monogamy all the time, and they're not correlated. They're not the same thing. Polygamy and monogamy is a practice that you can choose, and it's easier to choose in one era than the other. Like, for example, 50 years ago, it was easier to do polygamy because it was generally accepted by the society. So, and it's expected of a man, especially a man of means, right? Especially in certain societies, right? Like in Nigeria, like in Africa, right? But today things are different, and because things are different, it affects all of us. So even if you want to face polygamy with your full chest, the part of your brain is always asking like, now I have to deal with people asking me questions or people not subscribing to the ideology. Not only that, it takes a certain amount of resources, not just money, but emotional resources, social resources, all those kind of things, in order to practice that. So we're not just gonna cap and say, hey, yeah, natural. No, it's not natural there. Now, if you're a cheater, you're just a cheater, meaning you're participating in romantic activities outside of a commitment. That's just what that is. That has nothing to do with polygamy and monogamy. They're just two different things, right? We don't need to go into a lab to discuss that. We could just decide that the definitions they don't correlate. If you are committing to multiple women or multiple members of the next gender, that's called polygamy or polyamory, right? That has nothing to do with promiscuity, right? Being promiscuous, right? Promiscuity, right? Is that the word? Help me, right? That they're two different things. That's not polygamy. Now, there's a part of the dictionary definition that may say, oh, it means, having intersexual dynamics, relationships with multiple people, right? But we know that as a practice, right, it means marriage to another person. So it depends on what context we're talking about, but I don't think they correlate at all, right? And I don't think one, like you said, I think what I was saying when I was muted was based on D'Souza's comment here. Humans are not made for monogamy. That's not what that lady was saying. The lady was saying that men are not made for monogamy, just men. That's what she was saying. Those are two different standpoints, and that difference is a lot. Okay, she's coming from that standpoint of a traditionalist, not a realist. A traditionalist, not a scientist, right? She's saying accept it, deal with it, just because she's accepted that. And the truth is that there are many men, not only that they won't practice that, they're not capable of, they can't face this idea of polygamy with their full chest. Doesn't mean they're punks. It just means the society is less accepting of it, right? And people generally tend to conform to their society, not because they're punks. It's just easier to have a lifestyle around the rules of society that you live in, right? So it's not that simple. And then I look on, this woman has somewhat of a point, naturally more promiscuous than women. I would remove the word naturally. It's not part of nature, it's just social construct, right? You're not wrong, but it's because of the society for other reasons like biology. Like if you get pregnant, yes, I would. If you would get pregnant if you have sex on a good day too, right? You probably would be less promiscuous, right? Just natural order of things, right? It becomes a natural order of things because of the social acceptance of that kind of behavior, right? And then I look and says men like orishirishi. Orishirishi in Yoruba means variety. So I said that here about the six basic human needs. The first two is certainty, and the second one is varieties. That's humans. That's not just men. That's humans, right? Now, how that translates between the gender, of course, is different because there's clear difference between the two, right? Yes, I need to dig up more a little bit on the Adam Levine. Adam Levine, from what I saw, I think is a cheater. Not that has nothing to do with polygamy. It has everything to do with a man who is not satisfied for whatever reason. There's a void, and he went to fill it. Now you get to argue if it's wrong or right or it's morally wrong. That's completely up to you and your moral compass, right? Both men and women can be promiscuous. That's a fact. That's the point I was making, right? Oyade? Yes. And she said the woman has no point. I agree with that. Her argument was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. I will try to make sure that the rebroadcast doesn't have that gap. Um, listen, let's see, he probably didn't do it with anyone else because he didn't have the opportunity. Beside, are you with your dad 247? Yes. Oh yeah, I just want to give my parents as our parents are humans, or they were, or are humans. Okay, they were not perfect, and there are definitely things they will never share with you. You should always assume that anyway for your own good, you know. And then and then she says, speak for yourself. Not all men are like you. No attack. Good evening, Chinese. You don't know what opportunities he had. Yeah, and we don't know if he exercised them. You know, obviously. But listen, it's your father, so you probably know more than I do, right? So I definitely want to respect that. Obviously, not all men, but a lot of men. Most men, I guess, based on most people's circle of influence, you can tell for obvious reasons. You know, men don't get pregnant, okay, just because they want to sleep with somebody else. So that's a big factor in all of it, right? Shout out to Esther. Good to see you, Esther. We don't know what our parents are doing, and they're not aware what goes on in our lives. They are definitely not aware of what's going on in our lives, right? Obviously not, right? Were you with him too? If not, case closed. No matter. I beg, leave Oyade alone. Let's see. Listen, women have a lot of opportunities to sleep around, except that they can get pregnant willy nilly and be stuck with a pregnancy they really never planned for 9 months or 40 months. Yeah, and we all know that pregnancy is not anybody's mate, right? So that is a big difference. You have to admit that that is a big difference for an average woman, right? You might say, "Oh, there's money pills." There's all okay. All right, the kind of women that walk around with money pills or looking, that's not an average person, right? Listen, women have a lot of opportunities to sleep around. It's all about personal choice. No, it's not that much of a choice. I keep warning you, you're not as intentional as we all claim to be on the social media. If you're going to be intentional, put all that intentional energy behind emotional intelligence. Let's always dig deeper. Human beings are humans, they're not perfect. All right, they're not perfect. I hang out with all kinds of friends and I've been invited to things I've said no to every time. It's also because you said no because you didn't feel safe doing them. It's partly because you made a choice, but also partly because you weren't comfortable. If you become very comfortable or there's a void, you will do wrong things when it feels right. That's the reality, right? If not, I'm not talking about you personally, just us in general. We just need to be aware of our capabilities, right? We're capable in certain things, we're not capable in a lot of things. We don't control a lot. We just don't. Like right now, this light right now that's flashing in my face, right? I don't control how it stays on. Not really. I just know that there is a 99% chance to stay on like that for the next 1 year. But I also know that I am in the United States. You can flip that 99% on its head. If I was living in Nigeria, there's 99% that in the next 24 hours is going to at least blink. We don't control a lot. It's a terrible example, right? That's the point. You don't control the examples I'm going to give, right? But the point is that we need to stay humble when it comes to choices. The fact that we're intentional, we need to be very humble with that. There's too many people walking around, not you directly, too many people walking around with this arrogance of intentions. Intentions, good intentions, are overrated. All right, so let's see. That's a good one, right? The lady is the kind that would raise. I look at easy, Jerry. No personal attack. I will not be raising personal attacks. I will always vote for polyamory. We know that, D'Souza. I think you're making that clear every day. I can respect it as long as you understand that choices come with consequences. We spoke about that yesterday, right? Yes, I can respect that, and that's for all of us. Some people are probably going to be chasing after heaven so much they will end up in hellfire, and they missed out on life, right? So it is what it is. Oh, it's okay. That's just the human experience, right? Women love variety too. To be honest, a lot of men don't realize that. I do realize that a lot of men are delusional. Women love variety, but also we know that it's much more dangerous for women to practice variety, and that's a real factor. Okay. Polyamory rocks. I'm all about honoring agreements. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at you. Look at you. Agreements in the mud. You know, Esther, she accepted it. I believe everyone should accept it. Yeah, exactly. She accepted her fate and she's projecting at best. That lady right there, she accepted her fate and she's projecting at best. Okay? Most women will have to deal with infidelity from their husbands at some point, in one way, shape, or form, at least emotional. Okay? But, I don't say that so you can project that into your future because a lot of women will never have to deal with that. A lot, like more than enough. It doesn't have to be you, right? Okay? Put Chine. Oh, Shine. 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 Is that correct? Tell me if I'm correct. Shine. It's pronounced Shine. Shine. Correct me. Correct me. I know there's a delay. Let me know. Let me know. Exactly. No lies. All in the open. Yeah. Transparency and honesty, right? Transparency and
Stop the cap.
but guess what though? Guess what? Guess
Well,
what?
you're right.
All right. You are. You are. You've been a female lion with multiple male lions. Ah, stop. That's a terrible. Oh, come on, Ilukan. Don't do this to me. Don't do that to me, bro. Like, no, that's a terrible analogy. Please don't compare lions to human beings. It just doesn't match. I don't know why do people do that. Go Jora one now. Go right now. Come on. Lion and human beings, stop it. We're social beings. We are higher animals, okay? We're not the same thing. We can reason, we can build systems, societies, right? Come on, right? At that point in time, I have to play this for you, I Lucan. I'm sorry.
Stop the cap.
Sorry. Yeah, no. Let's see. Love how you express things, Ola, as I love Andrew Tate and Candice. Do you listen to them? I listen a little bit to Candice, and before I listen to Candice, I like Candice. I just think she's a good-looking chick. So there's a good chance I'm a little biased. All right. But I saw what she said about Ray J and the whole Kim Kardashian thing. That's the first video that I ever watched. That was like last week. And I like her take on it a little bit. Yeah, but I think it's more so vibes that I like about her. I'm not sure I will agree with her in a lot of political rhetorics. I'm not too sure about that. I am conservative, but very mildly. Very mildly. I would not vote for a Trump. I just can't stand just because you're saying what you think is true, you think you can run your mouth. No. That's just me as a person. But generally speaking, I tend to be conservative. So I like Candace in that sense. Andrew Tate, absolutely not. Andrew Tate is a man who came back and started apologizing from behind his mouth after he got shut down by social media. He ran his mouth into the hole. He tried to justify it with bullshit, and it's still not working. And I can respect that he used that to blow himself up. He got popular very quickly because, for obvious reasons, because he's potty mouthed like a teenager would be. It is what it is, But I think he knows what he's doing. So it's hard for me to take them too seriously. It's a bunch of bullshit at best. Ni, like the Spanish sound. Ni, chine, chinye, like chinye. Chinye sọ pé lion call lion ni. I hope you're still here, okay? You need to accept that cap and put it on. Chinye, okay, Chinye. Yay! Yeah, I'm so happy for myself. Anyway, let's get into today's video. Let me put my earphones on. I think that's good. See, I have so much. I have probably 100 things in my Instagram post that I wanted to share with you, but I won't be able to do that because of time here. Let's address this story. Let's get to today's story, actually. Yeah, I'm going to play the video. First. I'm going to stop and make some commentary, right? And, all right, let's make sure you guys can hear me. All right, let's see. All right, so let's play this video and then we'll take it from there.
Keep backing forward. Keep backing up. Stop. Get on your knees. Put your hands on top of your head. Drop the phone to the ground. Cross your feet behind you. Ready? Move forward. Move forward.
I'm going to step up with her.
Do not move.
All right, so let's stop right there. Right? Let me go into the story. Let's get the story of the day. Florida man murdered. Oh, I should have taken that out. Hopefully my accent is big enough not to be recognized. Florida man deleted his ex-wife, and her adult son and dispute over electric bill, according to the deputies, right? Courtesy lawandcrime.com. So let's get into it. A man is accused of murdering. I said it again. I gotta avoid the word so we don't get demonetized. We did get demonetized on that fantastic video yesterday, but we got it back. I was able to dispute it. So I want to try to avoid that. Okay, so a man is accused of deleting his ex-wife and adult son over a dispute about the electric bill, and authorities believe it happened in front of the son's own young children. Or the son's own young children. Interesting. Michael D. Williams, 47, allegedly claimed Marsha Ebanks-Williams, 48. She's slightly older, they're about the same age, mate. And Robert Adams, 28, attacked him and that he was acting in self-defense. Okay. Authorities, however, said that any visible marks on this body did not match his account of being violently assaulted. Okay? The violent encounter stemmed from a fight over electricity usage at the former couple's home in Volusia, I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, a county in Florida. Authorities believe Adams' children, ages 5 and 6, saw the incident happen. Let's keep playing a little bit. Clear.
Vehicle clear.
It looks like the police is approaching the inside of the house. Okay, so it looks like that's a police cam that we're watching. I think it is, yeah.
Children are 5 and 6.
How do you want to do this?
Announce.
Ready?
Any other threats?
The kids are going to be in the rooms to the left.
The kids are going to be in the room to the left. All right, so let's keep going a little bit here, okay? Let me know your thoughts as we're watching. Okay. This is senseless. Sheriff's Chief Deputy Brian Anderson, let's see here, said in a press conference on Monday, this is absolutely senseless. Would you agree? This was marriage, you know. This is marriage for some people. Senseless. And sadly, this kind of news make the news more for obvious reasons, right? The people that are enjoying their marriage, no one is talking about them right now because sadly, who cares? Right? So people that are preparing to get into marriage, this is the kind of content they're consuming right now. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that we mitigate that before we round up today's session. Okay? Because there's some real life lessons that we will get from this, right? That you're going to have to face. Hopefully, not to the point of a need to defend yourself, even if you're lying. Details from a press statement, the press conference, and a partially redacted charging affidavit detail what Anderson described as a toxic relationship. So wait, okay, Anderson described, okay, wait. Anderson is the son, the 28-year-old son who was also deleted. Okay, details from a press statement, the press conference, and a partially redacted charging affidavit detail what Anderson described as a toxic relationship. Let me see. Okay, that's not Anderson. Robert Adams was the son. Okay, Anderson is a deputy. I think that's the deputy. Yeah, I think that was referenced earlier. Trying to find that name. Anyway. Right, I think that's the sheriff or the deputy. All right. Let's keep going. Hold on 1 second. Just give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Ebanks, Williams, and Williams have been married for about 10 years, but they had divorced in June. Okay, so they're divorced again. They're divorced. All right. We tend to hear more about marriage from divorced people. The people that are approaching marriage are being trained by people that are divorced. Sometimes with bad examples, terrible examples, sometimes with their mouth. And of course, the things they have to say, typically, not all of them, the things they typically have to say about marriage, for obvious reasons, is it's not good for anyone trying to get into marriage. It's typically not good. All right. Most of them don't work on themselves. They don't do the necessary work. Or sometimes they do very, very little work and they just assume that off of their experience, they're able to train or teach or coach new people. But basically, what they're teaching is defense tactics, all the things you should avoid. And if you know anything about marriage, that's not enough. All right. If you want to defend yourself, you live in a cave. Don't come out. Don't meet anybody else. Don't marry anybody else. There's a reason why studies show that 75% of second and third marriages will end up in divorce. That's against the typical 50% that you hear all the time. Somewhere around that, right? Okay. So they've been married for 10 years and they are divorced recently in June. Let's keep watching this video. Let's watch another 60 seconds of this video.
To his knowledge, no other firearms in the house.
Ready? Yep. There's blood right here. Okay. And a body right there. Okay.
Sheriff's office! Sheriff's office! Sheriff's office! If there's anyone in there, make yourself known!
Not step on the blood.
I pray that none of you will encounter the kind of situation in your home ever. I pray.
Ready?
This is not funny. This is not funny
Okay,
situation
good
at
morning.
all.
I'm Chief Deputy Brian Henderson. We are here this
Okay, so the chief deputy is Brian Anderson. That's the guy we're looking at.
morning to give you an update in regards to the double homicide that occurred last evening at 1322 East Parkway in DeLand. Our 911 center received a call around 7:56 from an individual who identified himself as Michael Williams. Michael reported that.
All right, so he called the 911 himself. Okay, he called the 911 himself. All right, so let's keep going here. See what y'all are talking about. All right. Alukan says, with the lion analogy, what I mean is men usually want to do the thing that women. I hear you. I get you. Yeah, Candace and all of them can become too extreme, but I like some of their points. Yes, that's the same exact way I feel. Right. You'll be surprised. I did hungry women well too. I did hungry women well too. Irony. Chie, you did hungry women well. What do you mean? Yeah, you can't take them too seriously. Actually, Candace is stunning. Yes. My opinion too, right? They might flag the video because of that. Yeah, hopefully not. If it's not too much. They also give me an opportunity to cut that part out. I can always cut it out. It's just too much work. I don't want to get involved with if it's not necessary. All right. Yes, this is really, really bad. Please hit the like button. Let's get some more people in here. Share the video. Okay. Now, let's get back to the story. All right. According to authorities, the plan was for Ebanks-Williams, that's the wife, the ex-wife, to sell the house, and the former couple would split the money from the sale. Okay? That was the plan. Now, the question is, was this a plan or was it a court order? Is that written as part of the agreement from their divorce? Let's keep going. Williams was allowed to stay in the home Sorry, I'm a little still under the weather. Williams was allowed to stay in the home in the meantime, but deputies described the domestic situation as rocky. Anderson said law enforcement was called out to the residence on East Parkway in the city of Dillon 5 times just in 2022. 2022 only has 9 months or less so far. So if a cop has been called over to the house 5 times in the last 8 months, we should say, that's not a good sign, right? I mean, you would hope that somebody should get a clue at that point in time that marriage is not a do or die, right? People should start to really realize that this type of event usually starts as a word back and forth. Just a little word and a little small argument back and forth, right? By the time you start calling cops on one person, you should just know that something is not working and you probably should back off for a while, right? There were fights and arguments, but nothing rose to the level of arrest, he said. Obviously, right? By the time it's rising to the level of arrest, it's probably close to a terrible story like this. Why should you wait until it rises to any type of level? The moment you realize that we're disagreeing on a consistent basis, if ever you feel the urge to call the police, it's probably a good time to back off and just disengage, right? Let's play a little bit of the video.
He had just shot 2 people inside the house at 1322 East Parkway. That prompted a response from our deputies. We arrived on scene and we contacted Michael in the driveway of the residence. This is Michael. He's 47 years old. He has a criminal history of worthless checks, domestic.
Let me show you that at your picture. That's him right there. That's him, right? Right? That's him right there. Sorry about that. That's him right there. All right, let's get back to the video. Let's get back to the
violence, battery on a law enforcement officer, and child abuse. Michael indicated to us that he had shot 2 people in the house.
Wait, I need to rewind that a little bit.
Domestic violence, battery on. This is Michael. He's 47 years old. He has a criminal history of worthless checks.
He has a criminal history of worthless checks.
Domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
Battery on a law enforcement officer.
Battery on a law enforcement officer. Is this sounding kind of similar? Is this sounding very familiar?
And child abuse.
And child abuse. All right.
Michael indicated to us that he had shot 2 people in the house. Our deputies subsequently went into the residence and located 2 deceased individuals.
So he reported himself. He called 911.
Marsha Williams, 48 years old, and her son, Robert Adams, 28 years old.
Okay, her son, not necessarily his son.
Michael and Marsha were married for about 10 years. They have no children in common. And Michael gave us
They have no children in common.
the story that he was attacked by Marsha and Robert. And this stemmed from an argument that occurred over the past couple of days about the electricity in the house. Michael was...
All right, so no children together. Okay, so that wasn't his biological son. Okay, but you know, the son was 28 years old. They've been married for 10 years. So that means he was a full-blown adult by the time they got married, right? All right, we can see some patterns here. This happened in any part of the world, by the way. But let's keep going. That allegedly changed, however, after a days-long argument over power usage at the residence. See, here's what I want you to understand. When two people are just not matching for whatever reason, I'm staying away from the word compatible because it's overused. If their experiences are not matching, meaning it's not healthy, it's toxic, right? They always find there's more than enough stuff around to find and blame everything on. Okay? There's more than enough stuff around you to find and blame everything on. Keep that at the back of your mind. Okay? One of them could be, hey, you use the power, you're using too much of the power. Okay? Hey, the water bill. Like, what's going on with this water bill? People just get very sensitive. They get very overreactive. They get angry. They get moody. And just because they're not happy in that situation, they can blame it like, hey, the water is too hot. Who touched it? Oh, wait, something happened here. Why is this floor slippery like this? They could blame it on anytime you see yourself getting touchy like that. Right? You should probably look deeper. Right? You probably look deeper and say, hey, what is going on with me? Right? Or if that's your partner that's doing that and they have such a terrible records, right? You probably should pay attention to that. Right? William was upset, claiming the others were leaving the lights on at the home. Anyone can claim that. I could also turn off the lights my damn self, right? Over light bills. Is it really making sense to you? Senseless right now? All right, so he allegedly said he left for Orlando to put his things in storage, but before he did, he changed the locks on the patio door, right? Shut off the power at the home. All right. Why would you shut off the power of the home when people are living in the house? Via the outside breaker box and secure that breaker box with a lock. Why would you do that? I'm looking at my own power breaker right now. Right? So I'm just going to leave the house, turn it all off, and leave the house. Right? There's only one reason why someone would do that. There's only one reason why anyone would do something crazy like that. All right. Anyway, let's keep going. This video might have been shadow banned, by the way. So do me a favor. This video may have been shadow banned. Do me a favor. Let me see here. Hit that like button if you're still watching me. Share, subscribe. If you're doing that, just let's still make it worthwhile. Thank you so much for doing that. If you haven't done that yet, okay. Let's play a little bit of video again.
Upset that he felt that they were leaving the lights on in the house, and he went and put a lock on the box outside of the house, to which Marcia and her son cut. So he became upset, and that started this argument, which ultimately resulted in these two people being shot and killed. There were a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old also in the residence when this happened. Both of those children are Robert Adams' children. They do not live there. They live in Tallahassee. We do believe that they may have been a witness to this homicide, and we're working with DCF and the Child Protection.
So that's the
team
woman's
to
grandchildren.
interview those children. We have been out there about 5 times this year for fights or arguments between these two, none of which were physical. We did not make any arrests during those incidents. I do want to send my condolences out to the family of these 2 victims. This was a senseless murder that did not have to occur. So with that, I'll take some questions.
All right, so that's crazy, right? That's crazy, right? According to the deputies, Williams said he got an ADT alert while in Orlando. He returned home to find that Ebanks-Williams, that's the ex-wife, and Adams, her son, a 28-year-old son, had cut the breaker box lock. That's the house they live in, and the power was turned off. Williams said in this account, certain details are unclear because the victims' names have been redacted from the charging affidavit. All right. So there's actually one that I found somewhere here. This one right here. So you can see some dark shades. They shaded out some of the stuff from it, right? But anyway. But Williams claimed he tried to enter the home. A woman, presumably Ebanks-Williams, okay, because they're no longer here. So this is him narrating the story. Blocked him from entering. A man, presumably Adams, that's his stepson, told him to keep his hands off her. And a fight ensued. All right. Williams allegedly asserted they grappled with him, punched him, and kicked him. Now, the deputy is not believing that because they're saying there's no scratches on him. That's just their words. He maintained that he allegedly opened fire in self-defense. Williams allegedly said the children saw the incident. See, this is another reason why we have to be careful with all this kind of crazy fights. If the children are present and they're watching, let me tell you something. Your children are not listening to what you're saying. They're not listening to all that barking nonsense. They're scared, if anything. They're learning more from the examples you're creating. They're learning more from the examples they're watching. Right? At best, they'll be confused. You say one thing, but your lifestyle showcases something else. At best, they'll be confused. So either they're confused or they're learning from terrible examples. None of those are good. So if you care at all and you don't care about yourself in the process of this type of activities where you're in a romantic relationship, the kids, what about the kids? Right? What about the children? What kind of examples are you laying out for them to see? Right? And it's kind of sad that these 5 or 6 years old children saw all of this happen. They're traumatized for life. It's going to take a lot of work for them to be able to live in a way that it's not going to tamper with their experience. Right? So he called 911, secured the gun in the box, and waited in his car in the driveway. He called 911, secured the gun in a box, and waited in his car in the driveway. Deputies claimed they caught him in a contradiction in his post Miranda interview. Williams allegedly said he asked the 911 dispatcher if he should go back inside the home and provide aid to the victims, and that the dispatcher said no. But according to the deputies, the audio showed instead that the dispatcher asked if he would be willing to render aid, and he declined. So a story from some kind of interview did not match the recording. He said they didn't let him go inside to help, but the recording shows that he declined to go inside to help when the 911 asked him to go inside. Okay? Let me see here if I got that right. I want to make sure I don't get that wrong. He said he asked 911 dispatcher. He said that he should go inside. He asked if he should go inside. He asked if he should go inside and provide aid to the victim, but the records show that the dispatcher asked if he would be willing to render aid, and he declined. So we don't know the truth, but the discrepancy does not help him, right? Let's go here a little bit.
Brian, he claimed that they came after him with a weapon. How does he allege that they threatened him?
And I'll let this picture speak for itself, and we'll release this today. He claims that he was violently attacked by these two. Now, I don't see anything on this guy. Now, I wasn't out there last night, but we'll release this picture as well. This does not look like a violent attack to me that warrants being shot multiple times.
Did you find any other weapons on the scene besides the gun that he allegedly used?
The only weapon that we found was the firearm that he gave us.
Was that in the vehicle with him?
He had actually secured it in a box on the property, and we've recovered it.
So when you arrived, he was in a vehicle in a driveway and the victims were in the home?
Correct.
And the children were still in the home?
They were.
So, DC, you're saying that they had been married for 10 years?
Let me repeat that. Detectives said they photographed Michael for his injuries, of which there was nothing significant. Bottom line is that they don't believe him. Okay. What are the chances that someone will believe you? Remember that video we did a few days ago where the guy was filming multiple videos with the imported wife situations, right? Where they were filming, and we talked about, are this real good evidence if you're going through some kind of a DV situation? In the first place, you shouldn't put yourself in a position where you need evidence. Remove yourself. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision, right? Because what's the chances that they will believe you? I'm assuming best case scenario, like, oh, he was just telling the truth. What are the chances that they'll believe you? Slim to almost none. At most 50-50, right? A scratch on his upper lip, abrasion on the outside of his left knee, and a light horizontal scratches across his torso. There was a lot of blood on his pants and socks, but this did not seem to be his, they said. He had the weapon, right? He had the weapon. Citing the lack of apparent injuries on Williams' booking photo, Henderson voiced doubt about the attack story. He does not believe him.
Yeah, they'd been married for 10 years. They were divorced in June. And as part of that divorce agreement, he was allowed to remain in the house. The plan, according to the court record, showed that the victim was supposed to sell the house and split the proceeds with him. So they both were living in this house together. Obviously, this was very toxic, as we'd been out there multiple times over minor
5
issues.
times.
And then
over the last 8
the rest
months.
is history as to what happened last night. You know, this is senseless. You know, this is absolutely senseless. This was an argument over electricity, which he became enraged and committed this kind of violence. Year to date, we've had 700 domestic violence arrests in our county. Just to speak to the volume of domestic violence and the seriousness of what.
Wait, let me get
an
that.
Argument over electricity, which he became enraged and committed this kind of violence. Year to date, we've had 700 domestic violence arrests in our county.
700.
Just to speak to the volume of domestic violence and the seriousness of what occurs around that.
Were there multiple shots fired?
So we're still there.
All right. So I think the reports did say there was multiple shots. Deputies said they found the children unharmed in the home. The Florida Department of Children and Families arrived to help take care of them while contact was made with the mother. All right. And Williams remains at the Volusia County Jail, held without bond for 2 counts of first degree. All right. So let's just finish up the video because it's a very short word that I have for you this evening, just to keep at the back of your mind for your loved ones when it comes to this kind of situation. I'm talking about marriage and relationships in general, okay? And the question that I really had for you this evening is, do you believe this is a self-defense? Was this self-defense, right?
There are some pieces to this that we're still working through and could subject to change, but we do believe there are multiple shots fired. How many? Right now, I couldn't tell you that.
Were there any defensive marks on either the victims or Mr. Williams?
That's something the medical examiner will have to tell us as far as the victims, but again, I'm going to hold this up. This guy who appears to be in decent shape is telling us he was attacked violently. I don't see it.
Was the gun his, Chief?
Yes.
Legally?
Legally, yes. He was, I mentioned his criminal history, but he was, adjudication was withheld on those charges.
Chief Deputy, you said that you guys went there recently and there was no arrest. Was that also a domestic violence incident?
Well, anytime you have cohabitants who are living as a family unit, we term that as domestic violence or domestic related, but we have to establish if there's a crime, whether it's a battery or an assault. None of those cases rose to that level, which is why no arrests were made.
He does not believe him. His word will carry a lot of weight in this case. Okay, he's basically representing the people that were at the scene after the police and all those people were called, right? So if these people don't believe him, do you think a jury will believe him? Right? It doesn't even matter. Look at those babies are fatherless now, right? They lost their father and their grandmother on the same day. Do you think this is the right time to blame anyone? Does that really help anything? Now, if we have natural, when there's a life and death issue, right, and we generally are a little bit more empathetic, right, why don't we apply the same energy at multiple layers and levels before it gets to this point, before it escalates to this point? When people are going through a crisis in their marriage, in their relationship, let's say that's your brother, your sister, do you treat it like life and death? Do you realize that even divorce feels like a loss to most people that have gone through it? That's why it's extremely hard to do the work. It's hard. But if you don't do the work, it's gonna hurt you even more, right? Do you think that, or you just take sides until it's too late and everybody's in shock, right? Who's guilty here? Who's at fault here? It doesn't matter. They've all lost. So a few people lost their lives. He's losing his freedom. Sadly, those children will lose a lot. They will lose out on a lot of opportunities because they won't have a father. There's a reason why you're supposed to have a father and a mother. Sometimes circumstances, it doesn't pan out that way. But why does it have to be a situation where people can't control themselves until they create this kind of irreversible damage? We can't reverse this, right? We can't reverse this. The only thing we can do from this is learn from it, right? But 3 people's lives have been destroyed. Potentially 5 people's lives, potentially 6, because there are 2 children, and there's the mother of the children who they probably contacted, who was probably a wife to the 28-year-old young man, Robert Adams, right?
How recent was that?
She had actually called us several hours prior on a telephone handled call, and she was looking for legal advice. And we have that available too. We'll make the body camera audio recording available to you today as well.
So last night,
A telephone handled call, and she was looking for, which is why no arrests were made.
How recent was that?
She had actually called us several, whether it's a battery or an assault. None of those cases rose to that level, which is why no arrests were made.
How recent was that?
She had actually called us several hours prior.
She called several hours prior to that moment
on a telephone handled call, and she was looking for legal advice. And we have that available too.
Wait, she called the police looking for legal advice? That's interesting, right?
We'll make the body camera audio recording available to you today as well.
So last night she had called asking for some kind of legal help.
Yeah, there was this back and forth between who's controlling the power, who could put a lock.
Who's controlling the power? Who can put a lock on the circuit breaker?
It's sad that they got divorced. It's not obviously going to work out. They're living in this house. Like I said, we've been out there.
Listen, if there's divorce, see what this guy sound like. Teach yourself to sound like that. It's not a big deal if you're going to divorce. It's not that deep. It is a big deal, but not really. It doesn't have to be this bad. Because guess what? You're not going to win if you don't think that way. Not only that, you're going to drag other people through that mud. It's not good. This is not good. And there are tons and tons of stories like this. Right? Just because people cannot get married in peace and get divorced in peace. We all came to this world all differently anyway. The default is that we're all going to live separately, differently. It would be nice to be like the queen and Prince, what was his name? I forgot his name. The husband of the queen, right? They were together for what, 70, 80 years? Something crazy like that. He died last year, and she died this year, right? It would be nice. But there's no guarantee around that, right? And it's not just them that had a good life. There are people that are divorced and they went on to actually live a good life after that. But I guarantee you they did the work. What work am I talking about? You see, when you go through such a traumatic experience, it messes your mind up. It fucks you over. It destroys every sense of trust you have. Never mind the trust you have for other people, for yourself. You don't trust yourself anymore to make the right choices. It's normal. It's just normal response to that kind of trauma level, right? To that kind of trauma experience or traumatic experience. So guess what you need? You need to do the work so that you can recalibrate yourself and understand that life is sweet and beautiful with or without a particular marriage. Love is undefeatable, right? With or without some random particular marriage. If it's not working, it's not working. And if you don't have that mindset, you're going to have a terrible marriage anyway, right?
5 different times, and then he goes into this rage. I don't know any other word to describe it, and this is what we're left with. You got a 5 and a 6-year-old that likely witnessed their father being murdered.
You said you had been out there 5 times already this year. Did she initiate those previous 5 calls, or was it split?
It was split between the 2 of them.
And the chief, Mr. Williams, and her?
Yes.
And the children just happen to be visiting their dad. Their mother lives in Tallahassee.
Yes.
The young man, Alex, the victim, was that Williams' son too? Or?
Yeah, that is her son, her adult son, 28 years old.
But not his son.
Correct.
28 years old.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
What are your thoughts? I want to know your thoughts at this point in time. What are your thoughts before we round up? That was sad. That's sad. It's senseless. Absolutely not necessary. There's no need for anyone to go through that. There's no need for anyone to go through that. It's not necessary. All in the name of what? All in the name of love? It's not necessary. There's no need. There are going to be conflicts in any relationship. That's the reality. There are going to be conflicts in any relationship. It's just the reality. It's not because something is wrong with marriage. It's because humans are humans. And they will disagree sometimes. And there's always at least one person that they're not okay with the idea of a disagreement. That means they don't know how to handle disagreement. There's always at least one person that don't know how to handle disagreement. Right? But if you have at least one person that knows how to engage conflict properly, they can de-escalate in a way that's actually very profitable for them as an individual, but obviously as a default for the other person too. But it doesn't matter. If you benefit from it, learn how to de-escalate, learn how to handle conflict. In my opinion, the best thing you can learn before you enter marriage is learning how to handle conflict. I think everything else is okay. Right? It's like best of luck, knock yourself out, I think all the red flags you're learning before you enter marriage are going to end up hurting you in a reverse, twisted, weird way. I think the one thing that you're not learning, which is how to handle conflict, is going to be the main reason why your marriage is not going to work. Because by default, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be stuff you disagree with. There's going to be challenges. Sometimes the challenges will come directly from the other person. Sometimes it's completely an external force. Sometimes it's by proxy. Sometimes it's by relationship. Maybe his mother was offensive. Now you have an effective problem in your relationship. Right? So conflict is going to be a default. Gentlemen, she will shit test you. It's reality. It's just what it is. It's not necessarily deliberate. When you start thinking of it as deliberate, that's where you fail. Because if she's deliberately just trying to be wicked, there's only one way to react to that. See her as evil and try to get a one-up on her. And when you do that, guess what happens? She's going to receive that as what? An attack. And what does she naturally do? Try to defend herself. So you have offensive energy coming from both ends. What do you have? You have war. But if you understand that as a default, just because of the natural conflicts we're going to have, just because of the social dynamics between a male and female that are in a romantic relationship, there's going to be shit tests. She will test your core. See if you deserve that romantic energy that you're getting from her. She naturally gave it to you because she was infatuated in the beginning, but life gets to a place where it's like, reality kicks in. You now have to actually earn the respect. So there's going to be some very subconscious moves that we interpret those as shit tests. Are you able to pass them? No one should be testing anyone. Again, you think it's deliberate. You're giving her too much credit. You're giving her too much credit. It's not something that someone is just sitting down there thinking, I'm going to shit test my husband. That's not how that shit works. That's not how it works. It's everything that you're not thinking about. It's too much. There's a lot of stuff going on in our lives on a regular basis. It's a lot of activities. People are taking care of children. You're taking care of work. You're trying to get another job. You're trying to better yourself. It's a lot of energy that goes into that. Sometimes you're just not in the mood. Sometimes your face is not showing that energy that they love so much about you, right? And sometimes you come to her and you say, hey, everything okay? She said, oh, I'm pissed off because you're asking me everything okay all the time. You get the point? Like some random, it's not even like, it's not that much of a big deal, right? Sometimes the death in the family. Sometimes it's the way you parent. There's no disagreement around how you parent. Oh, this is the way I was raised. I want to raise her this way. Sometimes it's stuff as big as she had been married before. She has an 18-year-old son who doesn't respect me. Not the way I want to be respected. Remember what I told you about? We always find something around us that we blame our issues on. There's more than enough stuff you can blame your issues on. Right? But try not to blame it on the humans around you. Just say it's the sun's fault. It's the rain's fault. You can blame it on the weather all you want, but you know what you do with the weather? You learn how to navigate them. You get to work. Unless they call a state of emergency, there's snow, right? And then you can say, hey, there's snow today. They call a state of emergency. I'm going to call out sick. There's only so much time you can do that because there's structure around that. But you don't blame the weather. You learn how to navigate it. You don't blame your boss for the weather. You don't blame your wife for the weather. You learn how to navigate it. So think about all these other different energies that's flowing through life and your relationships. They're just what they are. Learn how to navigate them and do less of pointing fingers. Because when you point finger, it comes off as an attack at the other person. It doesn't matter what side I'm talking about. But if you do the opposite and say, what happened? Okay, that's okay, babe. Right? All right, I got it. Okay. If it's something really that terrible, you can say, can you please make sure this doesn't happen again? Because this cost me a lot, right? Oh, the lights are always on. Okay, we cut the lights off a little bit. The bills are a bit too high. Let's assume this is a real life situation, right? Let's assume this is a real life situation. Like, actually, they're overusing the bills. Let's just assume, best case scenario, that William had a point that he was trying to make. Like, this thing is costly, right? Even though we know that's all cap. But let's just pretend like we didn't know that this man was probably angry that there was a divorce. He probably felt like the divorce was not fair. Right? He's paying bills, they're already divorced, but clearly he couldn't afford to go live somewhere else. Right? This is not cool. All of these people are normal people who probably consider themselves good people. Yes, he had some records here and there. Terrible records, Abuse, right? Violence on police officers. He has records, right? He has bad records, right? But it's probably a guy trying to better himself. But who knows what kind of content he has been consuming? Who knows what kind of podcasts he's been listening to, right? Everything you listen to will shape your belief system. You don't get to decide that. It's just the reality. Whatever you listen to will shape your belief system one way or the other. It will influence your actions. It will influence your outlook on life. That's not common sense to a lot of people. Some people think it's all cruise. You're just having a good time. It's not that deep. It is that deep. If your core is tested, right? Your core as a person, your insecurity, right? Your belief systems, I should say, right? Everything you ever believe about life is being tested. Now you feel like everything is a lie. Everything has always been a lie. So that person lied to you. You found out that they were a normal human being who was not perfect. Okay, I'm capping. They're just a terrible human being. You found out that this person is a terrible human being. So you come out of that relationship, no matter what type of relationship, right? Let's assume it's a job, right? At the job you worked at, you found out a certain group of people work there, but they kind of like mistreated you and you didn't like it. So every time you see a group of people that look like these people, your radars go up, right? I gotta protect myself. You know, Blackensian type of people, I'm just making up a word. They're terrible people, right? You generalize. You're like, why? Because of your experience. They're terrible people. Yes, they won't pay you on time, right? They won't pay you on time. So let me just be honest. Avoid this type of people, right? So you didn't really do the work, and then you found one of them, and you fell in love. You fell in love with this person. You didn't do the necessary work. You didn't do the vetting. None of that. But you're in love. right? But as soon as that in-love experience expires, guess what comes back to you? Everything from that experience comes back to the table, especially if they make a little mistake. And then you start saying, oh, I should have known better. I knew it. Black women in general are just terrible, right? You start projecting that terrible past experience on this one person. You see, what you fear the most is what you're going to attract in life. That's not necessarily a physical thing, but it's the reality. And the way you're going to attract them is in weird, twisted ways. You're not going to be able to explain it, but you're going to see more of what you fear the most. That's why, and guess what? Your fears are your fears. I don't get to control that. Guess what? You don't get to control that. You can influence yourself out of that situation. You can start feeding your brain with the right things. It's only a matter of time. Again, the same way that you fed your brain with those toxic stuff, you can replace it. There's no vacuum. Remember that first story we covered? There's no vacuum anywhere. There's no empty space. It only exists in a science lab. Okay? There's no empty space. There's always something in the gap. Nobody is just hanging around looking to fill a gap. So when you say, no, but whatever you're feeding into your brain is going to control your life. Okay? So if you always find yourself around this type of behavior, it's easier said than done, but you have to gain enough courage to remove yourself. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision. You may be, God forbid, right? I'm talking to 2 types of people right now. 3 types of people. I'm talking to a Michael D. Williams. You have your reasons why you feel like things are not fair. But you also have the power of a choice to remove yourself or to call 911 before you do something crazy. Call 911 and say, I need help. The way I am thinking, I don't know. I don't feel right. Do it as soon as you feel like there's some kind of attack against your personality, against who you are, against everything you believe. Don't wait until you get so angry that you lost complete control of yourself. The second type of person I'm talking to is Miss Marsha Ebanks-Williams. Attraction is a weird thing. Some people are attracted to toxic energy. They don't just sit around and say, hey, I like toxic. That's not how it works. But there's something about the toxic thing that get them going, right? Everything that's not toxic is just boring. And I'm not saying that's what Miss Marsha Ebanks-Williams was. I'm not saying this is easy either. We're talking about 10 years marriage. But who knows the story in that 10 years marriage? Was it back and forth? Was this on and off thing for 10 years? Some people have been married for 10 years. They haven't slept with each other for 8 years. They haven't lived together for 8 years. So I know there's a lot of different dynamics that could have transpired there. But I want you to know, if you're a Marsha Ebanks-Williams, marriage is not a do or die. It's not. And if you see any kind of signs or craziness or anything like that, your experience is your experience. Share it with someone. At least share it with 911. There's all types of records following these people for a while. The third type of person I want to speak to is Robert Adams. You don't know your parents like that. You don't. It's kind of funny. We were talking with Oyade earlier in the stream. You don't know your parents like that. The only thing you know about your parents is the experience you've had with them. Hopefully it's pleasant, right? For a lot of people, it's not pleasant. That's the only thing you know. And I want you to embrace the experience, the positive experience you have with your parents. I want you to embrace that. But if you see something like this going on, don't take sides. Not only should you not take sides, don't ever look like you're taking sides. Help them seek help. Right? It's easier said than done. Because sometimes, let's be real, sometimes you can see clearly who is right and who is wrong. Let's be honest. And you have this urge to tell to their face, like, check them, hold them accountable. Listen, some aggressions are greater than others. You may be aggressive with your mouth. You don't know the extent to what the next person is going to take the aggression to, in efforts to compensate. Because once they catch themselves in that competitive space emotionally, we just don't know how far. We don't know how far is how far until we see this kind of crazy news. We just don't know. Don't wait to find out. Why would you want to wait to find out? You love your mother. So the last thing you ever want to see is some guy, I don't care if they're married for 10 years, coming off as attacking her, right? Of course, you're a man. You want to protect her. And I can respect that. But if you can, help them find help. 10 years marriage is not a joke. The longer people stay, the harder it is to leave. We shouldn't be so quick to judge people that can't leave. It's difficult. It's easier said than done, like I keep saying. But if they know they can always come to you and trust you that you're a shoulder they can cry on, I think that's the best thing you can do. I think the worst thing you can do is either take sides or come off as you're taking sides. You're not helping the person you're taking side with. You're just not helping them. Because there's a value they're getting from still being with that person. They may not be able to identify that as value, but there's a reason why they're still there. And you're probably not able to see that. And you're probably saying, I don't know, this is stupid. Why would you stay with somebody that treats you that way? That's because you can't see what you can see. But you probably can make matters worse for them. You will make matters worse for them by taking sides. Or get this right, coming off as taking sides. You don't have to intend to take sides. I keep telling you, intentions are overrated. You just have to come off as taking sides. And then you can make that experience even worse for them. Sorry about that. Over electric bill. Whatever you're arguing about in your relationship, I can almost guarantee it is something stupid. I can almost guarantee it's something stupid. Something stupid like, oh, that's just my standard. I don't tolerate that. Yeah, that's stupid. Okay, that's stupid. Because you tolerated it at some point in one shape, form, or the other. But now, you've been watching some kind of videos online and you think that should be the standard. Right? And even though you might have the right to change up your standard and adjust things, you really think you're going to change a human being like that, like a switch. You're not going to say, hey, this, I like it like this. You're not going to say, let me approach it from a standpoint. What can I offer? What can I offer you to make your life easier so that you can make my life easier? Have you ever found yourself in your relationship saying that to your partner? Like explicitly like that. Explicitly stated like that. What can I offer to make it easier for you? Or that's altogether an awkward statement for you because you're complacent. Because you're like, he's supposed to know better. She should know better. This is duty and responsibility, right? Over light bill. Even the light bill companies, PSC&G or whatever your local company is, it's not that deep for them. All you have to do is call them and say, hey, I can't pay this month. Can you extend it? Can you give me a payment plan? And they leave it on. Unless you live in Nigeria, different ballgame entirely, you know. Right? Like it's not that deep. That's the point. It shouldn't be that deep. Apparently, for some people, it's that deep. Senseless. Completely senseless. Makes no sense. He was acting in self-defense. With all that records, no one is going to believe that. Again, it doesn't really matter right now because those children, there will be whatever the state deems as judgment for them. It is what it is. I'm sorry about the sound. Sorry about the sound. I think my sound was off for a second there. Terrible. Authorities, they see this kind of news every day. If you talk to a cop, the last thing they want to do is have to come to your house. A lot of people see the cop as enemies. I understand it. Some communities are traumatized by the idea of a cop because of what it is, you know, what it represents for them. I can respect that. Depends on how you see it. But if you talk to any cop, the last thing they want to do is come to your house, actually make them nervous. Because you just don't know. Right? The prayer is that they don't want to be on those kind of scenes. They just want to stand by and, you know, and eat Dunkin' Donuts and, you know, right? But we have the people themselves, they don't even do the work to avoid this kind of scenario ever. We can't keep blaming our trauma. We can't keep doing that, by the way. You can't try. There's consequence. We can make your choices, but there's consequences for them. There's consequences everywhere you turn. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. You can't avoid it. Sometimes you're going to make the wrong choice. The question is that at the end of your life, 70, 80 years old, can you look back and say, I made a lot of great choices. I made some bad choices, but overall, I made some great choices. But the worst part about all of this is that, God forbid, the parents are not here, the children are not having to figure that out at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. No matter what, there's some exceptional stories out there, right? Foster parents, foster children, adopted parents, and it comes out good. But those exceptional stories, for every one of those exceptional stories, there's probably 100 stories, terrible stories of children that end up in the system that the government just can't account for because they become numbers. They just become numbers. For every one Steve Jobs, people are always giving the example of Steve Jobs. I think it was an adopted child, right? For everyone like that, how many thousands of children are you going to count on the streets of LA, on the streets of Newark, on the streets of New York City? Right? because they don't have the guide. They don't have good examples. Also, they become vulnerable to the worst of our society. Now, let's go back a little bit. This guy has records of child abuse. Right? And yet, the 5 and 6-year-old children was with their mother when this guy was busy tripping the wire, the circuit breaker of the house, turning it off, locking it up, and just exercising all kind of aggression around those babies. For me personally, I wouldn't have my children around that household until my mother figures herself out. I will respect my mother on the choices she makes in terms of the kind of man she has. Did you know that the sex offender records are not perfect? That you should have discernment capabilities beyond just the people you're about to romance. There's a way certain type of people move that you should just watch them, side-eye them, and just know that I wouldn't have my children around this one. They call it prejudging them. It's the reality. You got to protect what you got to protect. If they move in a certain type of way, they're extra aggressive. They have lack of self-control. They tend to talk out of their ass in the name of telling the truth. Right? Protect your energy. Protect what's yours. You will hear me a lot say things like, don't be judgmental. No condemnation. I usually say that with emotional matters, emotional blackmail type of stuff, right? But when it comes to protecting your own, your wife, your children, your family from physical harm, you do what you got to do, especially if they're minority, especially if they're children, especially if they are minors, I wanted to say, right? You know, there was an argument on Clubhouse yesterday. Somebody was saying, oh, there's an argument about, adults can come on, like what happens if the best friend of your girlfriend calls and say, hey, he's stranded in the middle of the night, and then he's looking for a place to stay. But he didn't have any man friend to call. He was calling your girlfriend because your girlfriend is the bestie. Right? Ridiculous. So what are you telling me? Your best friend, even as a guy, your best friend is stranded in the middle of the night. You happen to be out of town. You took a little risk. You're 16 years old and the 17 years old are staying at home. Would you say your best friend should just go to the house and stay with them? They are girls. That's stupid. That's just stupid. Oh, that means you don't trust your friend. No, that's stupid. That's just stupid. There's no need to ask any questions around that. I say, no, go sleep under a bridge. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Let's even make it better. They're 18 and 19. They're adults. They know uncle. No, uncle is not going over to the house when I'm not there. How much more if we're talking about a person that's been moving a type of way that they lack self-control, simple self-control in the middle of a conversation? Why would you want to wait for irreversible damages to say, oh, no, there's some things you just leave, don't do it. Some things it's just better to not go near it. Don't tempt people. Oh, so if you can tempt them, that means they lack self. No, dude, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. We're not playing that game. You protect the minors. You protect the women. You protect the children. You protect the vulnerable, the disabled, the vulnerable of the societies. It is what it is. Does that mean you're judging everybody, you don't trust them? It's irrelevant. The point is that that's irrelevant. So yes, that story is crazy. We will pick out some examples like that once in a while because I always think there's a bunch of lessons in them, right? Don't wait. The main lesson here is don't wait until something terrible happens. Okay? Don't wait. Okay? If it quacks like a duck, that's how they say, right? It probably is a duck, right? If you're in a 10-year marriage, it's never too late. If it's toxic, it's toxic. Take a break. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision. If it's a permanent decision, it deserves to be a permanent decision. No one gets to manipulate you with you're supposed to stay regardless. It's bullshit. Okay? Because the damages are irreversible, and sometimes people on the outside can't see your experience. They just can't see what they can't see. Okay, based on your personal experience, if it feels like an abuse, it is an abuse. They don't have to agree that it's an abuse. They don't have to define it like they define in dictionary. If it feels that way, you feel like you don't have your freedom, you feel smothered, take a break. Here's the fear that you have. What if it doesn't have to be a permanent decision? What if they move on in the midst of it? They don't belong there in the first place. There's beautiful life ahead of you. But sometimes you have to shut one door to open another one. Okay? And if you don't shut it, God will shut them sometimes. And it may not be the way we like. Right? Anyway. Esther says, never trust or think you can trust anyone you have put away from your life, i.e. divorce. It is hurtful. You're no longer together. Misunderstanding can easily spike up. Yes, you're in control of that for the most part. Remove yourself. Disengage from every need to be right. What causes argument is that I must be right. I must make you know that I am right. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. That has no trust. Help with an hotel. Exactly. Call an hotel. Call an hotel. If you really want to help that bad, call an hotel and say, hey, I want to book a room. It's on this name or this name. You can put it on this card. They will book it for you. And like I said, worst case scenario, call 911. After all, this guy, he knew how to call 911 after the damage that had been created. He called 911. You know you can call 911 for literally anything. Sometimes you might call 911 and they say, just for that. They may even come off as, that's stupid. But guess what? They don't have a choice. They will send help. What's the worst case scenario? They said no. Or they'll give you resources. Or they'll say, call this number. Right? I'm just saying, that's the worst case scenario. Call 911. Or it's Nigeria. Sleep under a bridge. Most likely you will survive till morning. But you will not be coming over to the house when I'm not there. I don't care how much I trust you. Now, that doesn't have to be your case all the time. There may be situations where you really feel like, no, it's their uncle or anything like that. If you do feel that comfortable, I'm not judging you either. But I'm trying to make a point here that if you feel some type of way, it's okay to feel some type. If you feel like you need to protect yours, protect yours. If you feel like it's an abuse, the feelings are valid. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay? The feelings are valid. All adults will protect themselves. They will take care of themselves. Okay? You need to protect you and protect what's yours. Okay? So, but for the Michael and the Marshalls out there and the Roberts out there, sometimes you're in an argument. An argument is like drugs. You're actually enjoying it. But you can tell that you're dying. Right? You just can tell that something is not right. Something is not right. You can feel it. Right? Don't wait. Don't wait. Seek help. Like, it might actually be confusing. You may just talk to someone and they will be like, oh, you know what? No, you're wrong. It's actually normal, right? And then at least you have somebody else to confirm that. But don't stay in it by yourself without seeking other people's counsel, just in case it feels like an abuse. Get out, right? Let's not wait. And the same message goes for the Michaels out there, right? Don't wait until you lose your mind. And be careful. I keep saying this because I see enough of this content out there. Be careful what kind of content you're consuming, especially if you've had bad experiences, right? Those content will magnify things beyond what they are for you to make you feel worse. And human beings are capable, okay? We're capable of committing atrocities that are irreversible. Yeah, it's crazy. So what if it's your brother or brother-in-law? It could be anybody, you know. It's just go with your feelings. It's really the point I'm making there. You know, go with your feelings, go with your gut at that point in time. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't be judged whatever your gut says, right? It could be your friend too, like I said, and you feel comfortable, like, you know, okay, girls, go in your room, uncle is gonna come to the guest room. Yeah, just make sure you know what you're doing, right? But I think the point I was trying to make is, if you've seen that person move a certain type of way before and they lack self-control, absolutely trust your gut and tell them to go find a hotel room, even if it's your brother. Okay? If they lack self-control, if they lack self-control in a simple conversation, they probably lack self-control in real life. Okay? Speaking of brother, I've had my first cousin, I'm just going to say that, come back to the house and rob the house before, when I was a teenager. After we all left together, he stole one key, came back to the house and robbed the house. So I don't know what that brother, but also is somebody we knew moved that type of way before. So, you know, I don't know, you know, just use, again, discernment. Discernment is also a source of what you already know. Your gut feelings, you know, tells you, you know, but there's more than enough people here that move a certain type of way. The way they talk, you just know that I'm not aligning myself with this person. Don't judge yourself on that. There's a reason why you feel that way. People tell on themselves before things happen. Like we just said in this story, he had track records. What else do we need? Including child abuse. Right? What else do we need? Right? I don't care if it's my brother. It's not coming around my children. I would hope I'm able to have that kind of courage. Because when you say brother, it can be a little tricky too. The family may feel like, oh, don't be like that. Don't be judged. Yes, it's difficult. Everything I said is easier said than done, right? Exactly. Family members. Yep. Family members. Most good people you would, or let me say, good people you consider good people, normal people, people that are just regular. You never see them do any kind of craziness like that. But yet, we keep getting this kind of stories every day. These are all, let me say, not good people, but at least regular people. So everything is not about trust. Some things are just about prevention is better than cure. Some things are just not relevant to trust. They're more relevant to, I don't want to tell stories later. I don't want to find myself in a position where I'm telling stories later. All right. So yes, today's Wednesday? Let's keep it like that. Let's keep it like that. I think we did some justice there, right? We did some justice there. It's not too late, okay? It's not too late to hit that like button on your way out. Okay? Hit that like button on your way out. Grab a link to the video, share with 3 friends. Let them know we're here. There's too many platforms I see that are stagnant around the internet. You see the same 50, 60 people coming all the time. I want to see if we can avoid that here. Okay? You want to grow and grow and grow and grow. Okay? Let's see if we can avoid it being stagnant and moving around the same, So I will do my best to keep it coming. Okay. And your help in all of this is highly, highly, highly appreciated. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I'll see you on the next one, and peace.